Om Sadashivat Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param Om Om Ishvara Om Shanti 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 Om. Uh, we begin today from verse 22nd, page 1708. 08. People who see me as no different from them offer worship. Is that where we began last class, Lynn? So people who see me as no different from them offer worships by dwelling on me. I take care of the yoga and kshema of those ever steadfast ones. Yeah. So at the beginning, uh, last time we studied this verse, I was confused to begin with. If Krishna Ji was referring to the Yani Yogi or the Yani, the one who sees definitely no difference between one's very Atma, Nirguna Atma of the Jiva and Nirguna Atma of Ishvara. So those who see me as no different, but then uh, they dwell on me effortlessly. They offer worship on me. So if it's a yani, the worship is more or less effortlessly, it's effortless. But if it is ani in the process of establishing yana, it requires a little effort and remembrance. And he says, these people who sees no difference between myself and their own self, they are so intimate and they could relax because I will take care of their gaining and maintaining. Yoga there means gaining, and Shema means maintaining. Because they are very much focused. So it takes a huge process of seeking the understanding of Ishvara in its naguna/nirguna nature until one develops a huge value. I mean, the only valuable thing is to understand the nature of God. And there are reasons for that. As we know, as a karma yogi, our mind is very much resolved by understanding Ishvara and this relationship between Jiva Atma and Ishvara Atma. So, furthermore, if you go into the understanding of Nirguna Atma, and then one is even further pacified or resolved in the understanding that there is only Bhagwan, there is only God, and I am of the same nature, there is only Nirguna Atma. So this dwelling on me, it depends on self-inquiry, self-investigation, study of the scriptures from A to Z until we develop a value in this process that conducts one's to self-knowledge, and the cure from the sickness of samsara. So the way he says that here, it gives an impression he's talking about the yani, but as we'll see, Swamiji is going to develop uh, the exposition here, the unfoldment, more in terms of Sakama Bhakta and Niskama Bhakta. So Niskama Bhakta, in the within the scope of Vedanta is a Yan Yogi, okay? I mean, it's only a Yan Yogi comes to that level. This is my take, okay? Only a Yan Yogi, somebody who got in contact with the final scriptures of the Upanishads, which declares that you are already free as limitless consciousness, Nirguna Atma. So only such an individual will become a niskama. So his actions do not try to solve its problem by pursuing worldly goals as a means to to satisfy itself and resolve itself. So you need to come to Vedanta to understand that that's not the way to go about. You need to come to Vedanta to understand that you need to understand God and our relationship with God. Yeah? And is a Yan Yogi Niskama Bhakta? Yes, if it is really a Yan Yogi, So a Vedantine, interested in these scriptures of Yan Yoga, of knowledge. So it must be also someone who understands that consciousness is equal to God, God is equal to consciousness, and consciousness is equal to reality. And knowing I am consciousness, I am of the nature of God, is what brings about the end of the human problematic mind, the human suffering. So, in that sense, we can say that this devotee here is a Niskama Bhakta, which, by the way, understood that Ishvara is not a means to gain anything in the world, but Ishvara is a means by which I obtain what? Spiritual purity, spiritual preparedness for fully assimilate my the declarations that Aham Brahmasmi needs to be fully accepted and assimilated. So what prevents us to have this fully assimilated, doubtless, total conviction of self-knowledge? What prevents it is some doubts and questions, suspiciousness, and which is always, always, always based on what? Not proper understanding of what the scriptures is doing to reveal the nature of God. If I don't understand what the teachings are from the scriptures, and then chances are that some doubts, some questions, some suspiciousness are going to remain, and that is going to undermine my conviction of self-knowledge. Therefore, one has to really be fully satisfied on the intellectual level, Mark, so that, okay, intellectually I have no doubt anymore, and then intellectual obstacle is no longer there, Mark. And then what could be other obstacles, as Swamiji often puts? It could be emotional obstacles as well. Okay? So he talks about a kind of bhakta here is called Madhyama Bhakta, which is Niskama Bhakta, which is the superior bhakta, which is fundamentally is a yani yogi, not necessarily a yani, but at least a yani yogi, because I can't conceive a yani yogi without devotion. It's impossible because the Vedantic process that leads to liberation must pass through the development of devotion, love, appreciation, reverence to this God in its true nature as Nirguna Atma, my very, very Atma. So Swami presents us with a piece of psychology. It's always nice, his psychological insights. Most of them are picked up from our Sampradaya, but he's very creative to present us with some new ones. He says you're going to travel by train, and the human mind uh, is always absorbed with the end. So I'm doing a long trip by air, and then I go to that nation, and then another transit here. My final destination is São Paulo, Brazil, and then my mind is think of São Paulo, Brazil. but I never lose sight of the transits, of the intermediary stops. Otherwise, I would go there and I would get lost there and I would go through the immigration and I would miss my connecting flight. So Swamiji says that the nature of the mind is such that it's always focused or absorbed in the end. Okay? Everybody wants the end. And then he gives some examples. The more simple is I want to build a house and then I'm enjoying building brick by brick. But the real Ananda, né? Priya, Priya mother and Pramada. How is this say? Priya mother and Pramoda. Huh? So the real bliss is when it's completed, my house. Huh? And then the electrical power is on, everything. So most of us are absorbed by the end. And then what is the psychology contribution of Swamiji here is when you really see Ishvara or Brahman as the end, because it is your very nature, and you need to understand that fully and doubtlessly. When you see that, and then you enter it due to an enormous value for something which is the end of human life, human rebirth, okay? And then naturally your mind becomes focused and absorbed effortlessly because you understood this is the end of the ends. If I believe that there are many ends that are going to satisfy me, and then with maturity, I say, not even my new house, my new this, my new that, and then the end here is to understand the nature of God. And then I go about with a certain attitude or desire referred to as mumukshutva. So that is the contribution with this beautiful example. So not that we ignore or neglect other goals, the means by which, for example, my goal is to a self-knowledge, which is understand the nature of God. And for that, I need to get into self-inquiry and self-knowledge in the lights of the complete teachings of Vedanta with the help of a guru and so on. So when I understand that that is my end, I have to really be honest and pause for a bit and say, okay, but am I really qualified for that? So, and then it might be that although I keep tapping into the teachings of the Upanishad, I should never neglect Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, observance of Dharma, as a means to further increase my preparedness so that I can be successful in assimilating the teachings of Atmayana. Yeah? So we should never ignore the means as well, the means by which, but in this case, I developed the qualifications to fully and doubtlessly assimilate the Aham Brahmasmi. Huh? Are you seeing me big or small? Oh, okay,
I'm
speak.
seeing you big. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, those are those parallels helps us to understand the psychology. And again, we the end is always something that we value the most. Okay, the end is always something that value the most. A lot of people that I know in my family that get a job working 40, 50 hours a week, but they don't enjoy the journey, the process. They just enjoy to get their paycheck and then have the opportunity to go there and uh, and be a good consumer. Huh? Uh, so we need to understand that the journey is beautiful as well. never needs to be neglected. It should be a journey permeated with a certain light heart, happiness or satisfaction or peace, and gratitude and reverence, devotion. So the attitude has to be very positive through the means, okay? Never losing track that the real valuable thing is the goal, né? But the means should never be neglected because the means can be seen always and should be always seen as intermediary goals, né? Intermediary stations or ends, sub-ends. In Mumukshutva, something that I know from my direct process or experience that makes the person absorbed with something. Okay? Some people in Brazil, for example, you can only be okay, an okay middle class if you apply for these public positions in which you have to pay examination one time, two times. Then people try 4 or 5 times. It's so difficult because there are thousands of people for limited positions, and you need to be really totally absorbed. People stop doing anything, go back, stay in the house of Papa and Mama at the age of 30 or something, and studying 8, 10 hours every day, 8, 10 hours every day, because in a society in which everybody, middle class is poor, so you need to be a higher middle class. And that is only possible with these public state positions because this is a very, very socialist nation here. So more and more with this new administration. So one becomes absorbed, and spiritually speaking, mumukshutva is really an obsession in which by which the person is really like, no, no, okay, I don't want to neglect, but I want to neglect. Nisargadatta Maharaj wants to neglect. He just got a few things and he started heading barefoot to go to the nearby mountains to live his life, his householder lifestyle behind. And I don't know if you heard this story, but a good friend of his, a wise person, came behind him and stopped him from doing that. He said, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for anybody. And he took a while to convince Nisargadatta to go back to his small shop to sell beads again, among other things. And Krishna says, don't worry, I will take care of things for you, what you need to get and what you need to maintain. I will take care of that. Why? Because what we need to gain and what we need to maintain is relative to the extent, to the degree that we're gonna develop in this spiritual religious process, we're gonna develop an inner satisfaction that depends less and less in gaining worldly goals, worldly desires. You understand? So he said, I'm gonna take care of what you need and what you need to keep. It's not that it's like a genius that you find on the bottom and then I'm gonna provide you with all luxuries you desire. No, I will purify your mind through this relationship that you're gonna love, but just what I give you. And you are not going to miss anything because you are so intimate to me that you're gonna get the highest possible peace and satisfaction from within this very subtle relationship. So I'll take care of everything. You're gonna be happy, you know? So Swami goes about reminding us that there is no real happiness and security in anything of this world. Everything is changing. Nobody's 100% reliable. There is nobody who is going to help anybody, especially in the uh, geopolitical arena. Everybody is there, shaking hands with one hand and having a knife on the left hand, ready to just, hit the other because there are no friends. It's just a question of having opportunity. I was exchanging some communication with my old friend, and I was telling him, man, what do you think? You think that people do this for this reason, do this? This is all propaganda. We are still the same barbarians of many centuries ago, as we have seen in the movies of the Vikings. You just go and take things. We are the same we are the same barbarians. Oh, there is something going wrong here on my stove. I'm going to stop, but please don't let me forget. So Swami was just highlighting the fact that there is no security, there is no peace, there is no happiness in anything because I don't know. Some people may find me a little bit pessimist, but I find them deluded to think that a huge love, compassion, transformation is going to happen in the world because there are a lot of people awakening. There is a collective awakening. So collective awakening depends on a collective tendency for spirituality, which involves yeah, understanding or desire to understand God, understanding the role of devotion, love, reverence towards God. It's a long process, and the societies are the way they are because we have moved so far from all of this. So, uh, as we know, everybody gets what deserves. Yeah, we always get what we deserve, and somehow we did deserve to be born in this planet. We cannot, debate or argue with Schwartz about that. I just hope that there are better planets. If I have to come back, I I come back to a less barbarian planet. Okay. So I'm saying here, remember, human beings are unreliable. And because human beings are unreliable, this is another piece of psychology. People tend to doubt. But you're telling me that God is reliable, but in which way I can rely on God? And then, in order to explain that to people, you have to give them a very, very childish, infantile answer, or you have to wait for the person to grow up a little bit to explain in which way we can rely on God, because only through this relationship we're going to find peace of mind and satisfaction, inner satisfaction, regardless of our uh, material worldly accomplishments. Oh, no, but no, don't worry. In the process, all those desires are going to disappear. You're going to understand the defects inherent to all desires, and you're going to desire to understand more and better, more deeply the nature of God until you understand that it is your very nature. So these highly committed people, highly scientific, spirit developed, having God, the Lord, Bhagwan, Ishvara, and they never lose sight of that. They're committed. They are called also Jnanazu Bhaktas or Mumukshus. No? Swami says this is a very practical verse in which uh, Krishna, speaking as God, provides because every person has a sense of insecurity and they need to find security, not in people, place, things, and circumstance, but they need to find this sense of security in God by understand the nature of God and the purpose of life. So the grihastas, they usually they okay when they become religious grihastas. They take God into their lives, but yet they look for security on things and children. They like to have many children because children in India, in many other countries, sometimes is translates as more security, more working power. The verse 23rd, even those who are devotees of other finite gods and who worship them are worshiping me. So this is a simple, clearly understood verse. It's still about devotion, but here it says so. So if the devotee is not mature enough and they need some finite deities, so let them do that. Uh, let them do that with faith until they understand that they have been worshiping me and me alone, unconsciously, unknowingly. No? So, as I like to say, there is only one God, one Creator, one Bhagwan, one Ishvara. No? But then we project a lot of deities according to the nature of our desires and according to certain cultures. And then Swami goes about remind us that so many wars are fought because of these stupid, infantile uh, concepts. I am a Shiva Bhakta. I am a Krishna Bhakta. I am this Bhakta, that Bhakta. And everybody develops a sense of identity and specialty because my deity is superior for this and this and these uh, reasons. And not only some people they go to one religion, culture or structure, and then they develop the same concept or fantasy that this is the right religion. And and then they go in war with the other religions. I had the same conversation with my friend that I've been trying to get rid of him, but sometimes he gets back to me like a yo-yo, yo, boom, yo, yo. And he was talking about I pretend that history of religions and blah blah blah. Those religions are terrible. I think that Christianity is the best one. Therefore, the Israelis have the right to go and commit, all these genocides and criminalities and so on. And blah, 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 blah. So, so what is the problem with all religions? I told him, to me, all religions are superficial by nature, and I said a few things. They don't have an understanding what it is to be a religious person. Otherwise, they would not be in conflict with other religions because fundamentally, my religion is use a certain symbol of God. Oh, your religion uses a different symbol of God. Oh, my religion does not use any symbol. Okay, now good luck. Buddhism and all the variations of Buddhism. So the problem is fanaticism. That this is the right thing, And the story I heard about my scriptures here say that we are the chosen ones, and therefore we should take over and dominate everything. Let's go into war, huh? So this is a problem. This is ignorance of the nature of God. And not only all these religions, if these original symbols of these religions, they were genuinely, if they existed to begin with, and if they were real, highly developed souls, what came after them was from his devotees, which are not wise people, which are not yanis, yeah? and and they are moved by the sense of, oh, yes, yes, now I have identified the best God, the best religion, and now I can fight to impose my notions, ideas, and concepts on other people. Why not to let people alone with their ideologies? Because they cover the face. Let them cover the face. It's not covering your face. No, because it's not fair, but I want to be the whole world democratically free. So prove that your nation there is democracy because there isn't really democracy in the Western world. You understand? So it's just hypocrisy and war because people want to go there, just like the Vikings to steal, rob, and and take everything. This all stupidity, ignorance masquerade as uh, religious knowledge. So Swami reminds us that all these devatas, they are limited, but you can invoke limitless Brahman in them. This is the most important thing to conclude that part because he simply says that you are Yani, okay. You are Yani Yogi, okay. You don't need to throw away all these devatas. You just know that they are symbols of Nirguna Brahman. And it's much easier to express duality, devotion in the dualistic manner, using a symbol of Nirguna Atma as Saguna Atma, or on a deity. Oh, no, but if there is only one Nirguna Atma, I'm going to be devoted to myself. It's okay. As long as you be very careful, because this is a dangerous concept. The ego loves to say, my own God within, therefore I am all powerful, omniscient, omnipresent. I can create my own reality. There are a lot of misleading, dangerous notions around this concept. But if I'm living my life, studying the scriptures and so on, I will understand that I can use these limited symbols of Brahman to invoke Brahman in its true nature as Nirguna Atma. And how I'm going to invoke and what for, please, remove those obstacles between what I know and what I need to know for sure. So I hear that my nature is also limitless, infinite conscious existence. But I want that knowledge to be 100% sure uh, firmly retained, not subject to forgetfulness, and and then I'm good to go. Hmm? So I will invoke a devata, personal god, Ishta devata, in a way so that I'm sending my prayers to Brahman through my Ishta devata. I invoke the infinite nature of all these Ishta devatas. Ishta devata, I don't take you to be anymore that entity who plays flute or this. I take your entity to be Nirguna Brahman, your true nature. So I still like to visualize your Namarupa, but I'm invoke your true nature as Nirguna Brahman so that the obstacles between my clear knowledge and my clear, doubtless, always available knowledge can be removed. Any possible obstacles. So in the next file, Swami explains that in the next verse, Krishna is going to classify two kinds of bhaktas based on with regard to anyanis. Okay, he's not talking about yanis. So therefore, the previous verse was referring to anyanis uh, working to become yanis. Okay, so we don't take the yani into that classification or that analysis because the yani has no motivation to be a devotee of Ishvara as a means to get worldly thing or spiritual development or spiritual purification so that I can use that purity and refinement to get self-knowledge. So the yani got the self-knowledge, and even if the yani needs some purification, as our good friend, old friend, used to even say, yeah. So it does not need to be something with great effort. You just take note. Okay, registered. I need some purification, and I live my life. I know what I am, uh, and I don't feel guilt. I just pray to Ishvara like our old friend used to pray. Please take it easy on me. I still have this usual vasana that is disturb my mind. I know what I am. I know who I am. Help me out, make it less these vasanas that disturb my mind, or make it less those emotional tendencies that disturb my mind. And the most a yani can say that. But on the other hand, I have to remember Swamiji saying that self-knowledge without its fruits, which is a stable, balanced, uh, emotional personality should be present so that one can say, okay, I have reaped the fruits of my self-inquiry and self-knowledge. But here there is no question of talk about yanis, it's just about anyanis. Remember yanis bhakti, uh, motiveless. They don't have a goal, a motive. This is something very subtle, very, very subtle. Because, and when I like to say those things, you guys know that I don't give any value for academic exposures and this and that. A lot of people, including my group, there is a guy who likes to do a group of reading group or studying group. and he talks from an academic level, and a Yanni can sniff it so from a distance, you know. So I don't like to present things unless it is wisdom. Wisdom is a knowledge that you have gained directly. So a Yanni is happy by itself, in itself, regardless of the circumstance of one's life. And anything he does is without a motive. There is no really desire moving the Yanni to do things. So how is that possible? Okay. So he does that. He never forgets his nature in God as God. And he does that in absolute conformity with Dharma. He does it with love and empathy for others and other creatures around, So, but it does not have that element of desire to gaining or accomplishing anything except some practical things, you know, some practical things that you do and always without any sense that, oh, I need to complete this and I need to be successful and accomplish that and so on. So, so this devotion is a devotion of someone who wants to give something and not gaining something as a result of one's actions. It's very subtle. Modo qual the Yanni is a devotee of God, still does things, but without real motive, without really motivations or desires. Okay? So it appears as there is no desire. Shimayananda did so much, you think he had no desire. Krishna did so much. And you say, so if you want to believe that I had a desire, I have a desire, never in in violation of Dharma. It's always in conformity. And it's not a real desire, it's just one's nature, one's apparent nature of doing things. For example, as some of you know, I always had this vasana to prep, and I always like to look into what is behind the scenes, the curtains, in terms of all conspiracy that the higher powers of this world have among themselves. Okay. Oh, there is no conspiracy. There is conspiracy. Conspiracy exists within every house. Two people talking secretly, one with another, two or more people talking secretly, in order to accomplish something. It's a conspiracy. It's conspiring to gain something, and that has to be kept in secret. This is conspiracy. Yeah. And of course, there are people who trips too much and then sees conspiracy in everything. That's the other extreme. But anyhow, this discussion here is not for the Yanni who does what it does, following its inferior nature in accordance with Dharma, with an attitude of devotion, with love, compassion, empathy for others. Is not under the discussion of these Krishna's uh, analysis, okay? Because the Anyani is the one who have always motives, and a lot of the time these motives are hidden motives, hidden motives. I used to play this example about 10 years ago when I got in contact with Vedanta and I started integrating Vedanta into my classes. I say, supposed, because people used to talk to me about their poetry, but I know I cannot get anything from a new boyfriend and a new girlfriend, blah, 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 but I have this rush, this chemical desire, I want to make love. Yeah. So how I'm gonna go about that? So be clear. So what your motivation is to make love. Yeah? So don't hide it behind romance and buying flowers and going to the cinema hall, eating popcorn and then start saying, "You are the most beautiful thing I found in life. I think, we're gonna live forever, ever happy." And so don't lie, don't deceive, don't manipulate. Okay? So don't have hidden motivations. They say, "Oh, I'm really turned on by you. I'd like to have sex with you. If you feel the same way, we can enjoy some time." And then we see where does that lead. It may lead into some conflict, but somehow conflict is worth the price. No? So based on the motivations, desires, Bhakti classificado as Sakama e Niskama. We know this concept. Sakama is like, oh, my motive is I, and myself alone. And usually it refers to worldly things. No? But then there is another level of Bhakta, which is this Niskama Bhakta, no? Who is not motivated by worldly gains and much less worldly gains that benefit only me and my family at the most, at least for as long as I don't divorce from my husband or wife. So, and but this Sakama, they have a long list of desires, and they're always nagging God, asking for things. Huh? He's motivated by his personal ego-centered desires, but they may grow to become so much. Uh, he can understand Dharma to such an extent, and that he desires everything in observance of Dharma. Here, Dharmartha Kama, desires in harmony or in conformity with Dharma. It's okay. So now I want to have a mansion. I'm no longer satisfied with my house. I want a small mansion. Huh? And then, but if I go about design that, I'm gonna follow Dharma. And then the guru may say, "So are you sure that you want to waste another decade or two following this desire? Because it's not going to satisfy you." I see this with my students. And the big one is usually is to find the love of my life. Are you sure you want to go through that again? Because, no, professor, now I'm done. Now I understood. And then start building again. Uh, the person starts suffering of this biochemical toxicity that needs sex, you know? And then, a person gets blind and say, "No, uh, I need that. I need a mansion. I need a very expensive car." Aniani always wants those things, but at least Aniani, uh, this Sakama, Kama, Aniani, he is a Bhakta that observes God's laws and principles. They had a certain understanding of God's laws. So the Niskama is different. It's a much more mature individual. It not only observes God, but he desires things which are higher, much superior, such as serve the field, serve other people, love, and develop proper higher qualifications so that I can qualify to become Nididhyasaka. Swami reminds us of a devotee who offered a beautiful prayer. saying, "Oh Lord, I have no interest in Dharma, no interest in Artha, no interest in Kama." Yeah? So, what is the situation here? The person not only understood the futility of uh, uh, going excessively, not moderately, going for the search, the pursuit of security and entertainment. Okay, and then they moved into Dharma. So, but then he grows beyond Dharma and say, no, even Dharma, I have no longer interest. So this is someone entering in the profound waters of the Upanishads. I don't have any motives, not motivation for those things anymore. I need something else from you, my Lord. And what is that something, I am interested in something else. I'm interested in you. And what we need from the standpoint of Vedanta, when we say I'm interested in you, this is the religious, romantic way of putting it into words. Okay? So from the standpoint of the spiritual Vedantic way, we should always read, I'm interested to know your true nature. I'm interested in know God. Papaji, when he went all over India, knocking everybody's doors, because he understood and inferred that Krishna was not reliable because he used to appear and disappear. And then he traveled without motorcycle, without car, all over India. Find people. You know anybody who knows God? Knows God. Oh yeah, there is some. And then he would go, "Do you know God?" And the person say, "No, I'm sorry, I'm still seeking and searching, but I don't know God yet." Until he found someone who knows God, which was Ramana Maharaj. So a true mature seeker is no longer interested in Atha Kama Dharma. It's interested in yana. Which kind of yana? Atma yana, God yana. I want to know God. When we read, I'm interested only in you, it's not interesting, the love of my life. Now I'm hugging you and stay with you. Papaji was a terrible teacher. He did not have teachings. He was just an inspirational teacher, guru, with a lot of Shaktipat and so on. And he used to present us with all these romantic, beautiful analogies, such as when you encounter God, is the most beautiful, wonderful. It's going to make you so fulfilled and happy that you have to hold it and kiss it and keep it tight and never let go of it. You understand? You have to keep tight, hold God with you. Right? So those notions, they are misleading, but they are presented all over place. They are kind of action, experience oriented notions that are very misleading. But somehow it's inspirational. I want to know God. And once I know God, I'm going to kiss it and hug it and sleep with it day in and day out. So this is the religious language. I am going to be interested in you. I'm going to be with you. Blah, 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 blah. Very devotional, very action and experience orientation. But in Vedanta, you don't see things in that way. You don't see a God as a namarupa, defined by a name and a form and certain characteristics or features. So my God is the most subtle of the subtle. Before I go into my God is the entire cosmos, is Vishvarupa God. I see God as I see God as the supreme power and intelligence that holds this apparent order in place for us. with all its laws and principles. So I want to understand God in the highest, most truthful way possible. Yeah? I don't see God as a deity, an entity that can have a personal relationship with me. They don't really exist. I have to see God as the supreme power, the supreme intelligence, so the cosmos manifests materially. And then from there, I will understand God as the most subtle, more subtle than even the supreme intelligence that holds this meteor reality in place. I will understand God as the adhisthana, the substratum, on which the whole thing is apparently superimposed. So when we talk in terms of Vedanta, we want Atmayanam, Satyayanam, Brahmayanam. I want to know the true nature of God. My interest is not in you, God. My interest is to understand and know you. When I tell somebody, Mark, I say, oh, no, I fell in love with you. Now, because we are Yanis. And then you find somebody and the person is romantic by nature. And then you say, oh, my dear, so and so, I'm so much interested to know you. To know me? Why are you not interested in me? No, I'm interested to know you. But don't you find me beautiful and intelligent and attractive? No, no, I'm interested to know the real you. I'm not interested in you. I want to know your true nature as Nirguna Atma, because that may help me to understand my nature as Nirguna, and then you destroy the entire romance that was beginning. So the Yani, the Yin Yogi, it's less romantic in that sense. You understand? He's not interested in God, he's interested to know God, as I have been putting it over and over and over again to my people in Brazil as well. And why it's so important to know God? Because if you know God in its sakama nature, no, and then that is going to really pacify my mind to a certain extent, from where I can really further purify and refine until I know that I don't need to depend, not even in my understanding of Saguna Brahman, of Saguna Ishwara, because the true nature of Saguna Ishwara is Nirguna Ishwara, which is the very nature of Jiva, Atma, Nirguna Atma, Nirguna Jiva, as I have been putting lately. We have two natures. The Jiva Atma has two natures. One is Saguna Atma, and the other is Nirguna Atma. This being is fundamentally of the nature of no gunas, but it appears we need to have those projections of guna. It appears as Saguna Jiva, Saguna Atma. No? So Nirguna Jiva, Saguna Jiva, we all have these two aspects within our human experience. Nirguna Jiva is Saguna Jiva. No? And then if the same person that somebody falls in love comes and say, oh, I love your Saguna Jiva. You say, Eesh, this is not going to work. I need you to love my Nirguna Jiva. Nirguna Jiva, what do you mean? It's very, very visible, the most subtle of the subtle. But because it is your very nature, you can only really love my Nirguna Jiva. You're never going to be able to love my Saguna Jiva, you know? Okay, so Sakama. So this verse refers to the Sakama, Niskama, but not to the Yanis. Jesus. And then there is another. It's going to appear, or it has passed, but I did not read. There is a Sanskrit technical name for the Yani as a Jiva. I think it's going to show up again here. And this is indicate, if you remember, Lynn, please refresh my mind, our minds.
Are you thinking of Jignyasu?
Yeah, the Nyatsan, yeah. In this portion, in Krishna's indirect devices, male graduate from Sakama to Niskama, and then from Niskama Bhakti to hmm, Nididhyasana. I have a hard time to say that word. Bhakta. Non duo Bhakta. Or something like that. Let me see if it appears here again. Okay. Okay. I will stop exactly where I stopped last time with you. You know? And that was good because every time we do a satsang following some verse, it comes out differently. And this came out very nice. Okay, so we meet again tomorrow, Mark. Are you still on?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be here tomorrow.
And Sylvia's coming back. She's traveling back to Italy and then she will begin joining us again. I think our Philippe is going through quite some challenge, so he is a little bit away, but I think he may come back. He's coming to visit me for about a week with his wife, briefly, soon. Now a lot of people are coming to visit me. I have another student that's come to the same month, and somebody else in the following month.
Great. I'm very happy to hear it, Arlindo.
Yeah.
Good.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namaste. Shanti. Om Ishwara. And by the way, I'm finally enough. Uh, I'm making I'm closing an area here so that Talon can remain free from the chain, you know?
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I had done another solution. I took the wire all the way from here to the gate there in front, but it's still he's being held by a wire, and now I'm
Yeah,
spending the money to give some more freedom to this
right.
to this creature that I learned to love and appreciate.
Yeah, he's a beautiful soul, Callum.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot. Yeah.
Okay, Lynn, it goes without saying, Lynn, if you ever want to come to visit me in Brazil, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. See you tomorrow.